Hello. This video is for Mr. H and for W and for S. So this is part 2. Today is Tuesday, February 7th, 2012. And this is an example, a new example of Yeshiva University paid John Scarfone, Associate General Counsel, to lie in criminal court about me. And if you look at please see page 198 of my criminal trial transcript from Manhattan Criminal Court. Quote, "We produced in federal court," end quote. Okay, that's not true, that's a lie. And what is John Scarfone referring to? John Scarfone claims that from the years 2004 to 2007, that the university, my medical school, the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University, produced my complete, unedited, unredacted educational records, financial records, and medical records, including the insurance forms that were used to pay a fraudulent bill, which we're going to get to all those details in a minute. But John Scarfone claimed that the school produced. They did not. These are the documents that were produced in federal court between 2004 and 2007. I went and got them. Law enforcement has these CDs, as does my attorneys and other people. And we're going through the ridiculous exercise of scrolling through all these documents to confirm in an open public forum all over the internet and all over public access TV. This is life-saving information for every pre-med. Okay, I was asked, pick out the easiest to understand examples of the school paying attorneys to lie, because this is life-saving, literally life-saving information for every pre-med student. So we're gonna, let me just set this up for you. 2004, 2007, the school claimed it produced my complete unedited records in federal court. It did not. These are the documents from federal court. In 2009 and 2010, Yeshiva University and its medical school paid John Scarfone, among other dishonest attorneys, to go to criminal court in Manhattan and lie about me. And here's one lie that he told. So we're going to change the camera view to go to page 198 of my criminal trial transcript. This is page 198 of my criminal trial transcript. And if you email me at CrookedDoctors@yahoo.com, I will send you my criminal trial transcript on email, and you can look at it for yourself. I'm going to scroll right over here where it says, I'm going to read this to you. John Scarfone, Mr. Scarfone is asked, Mr. Scarfone, let me back up a little bit. I'm suing my medical school because I need to get my records and correct them because they've been intentionally falsified. And the federal district courts made up, these judges just made up these fabricated rulings that have no basis in common sense, the law, or fact. And this is going on and they want to create a body of law so that they can prevent students from accessing and correcting their records, so Yeshiva University can tell any lie it wants. It can't. So in 2004 to 2007, I'm trying to get my records and correct them. And John Scarfone, later on in 2009 and 2010, goes down to Robert Morgenthal's Manhattan District Attorney's Office and presses false criminal charges against me for aggravated harassment, claiming he's annoyed, he's irritated, he's annoyed that I have to bother him to get my records, and he claims I have no legitimate purpose. That's not true. I have a legitimate purpose in seeking to access and correct my records. And I was asked to pick out the most obvious, easy to understand lies. So where in 2010, John Scarfone is on the witness stand and he's asked, Mr. Scarfone, is it your position that Ms. Raden has received her unedited medical, educational, and financial records from Albert Einstein College of Medicine at Yeshiva? And John Scarfone answers, and he says, we produced in federal court. during her litigation, and we produced in response to this court subpoena certified copies of her educational records. Okay, that's a lie. And what we're doing in part 2 of this ridiculous exercise is we're scrolling through all the documents to show there are no educational records here. Now, I'm going to comment, and I have been commenting in part 1, on some other facts here that show that John Scarfone lied about me some more, but all we're doing in this exercise is scrolling through these documents to confirm that John Scarfone committed the crime of perjury, that the Manhattan District Attorney's Office suborned perjury, helped him commit perjury, that's a crime, and that my privately paid defense attorney, Michael J. Redenburg, also helped in these crimes towards me. So we're going to change the camera view back to the computer, and this is the CD. If you go to 500 Pearl Street, 3rd floor, you can get a copy for yourself, or you can contact me at CrookedDoctors@yahoo.com, and I'll provide a copy of this. This is the docket number 07-1359, and here's all the documents on the CD. Now in part 1 we went through this document, and 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 this document to confirm that there were no educational records here. Now in this part 2 of this video, we're going to go through all these documents here, and these documents are, most of them are just a few pages, so it should go fairly quickly. So let's start here, and we're going to confirm, okay, there are 2 pages here, and we're going to confirm that there are no educational records here. Okay, so this is just a form that's filled out. This is a motion information statement. This is not an educational record. Now, when I talked to law enforcement who's trying to help, I said, you know what, you have copies of these CDs. This is page 1, page 2. There's no educational records here. There are no educational records here in this document. This is just a memorandum of law. This is 6 pages right here. And this is just a memorandum of law. There are no educational records here. This is just Yeshiva University's attorneys lying some more. So you can see here this is stamped as 2007. And yes, if you are deceived, as I was, into attending this medical school, you can spend your life going through this stupidity. You can have your life ruined by this school. You can see that there are no educational records here. This is just a memorandum of law. So let's scroll through let's go through the ridiculous exercise. I sat down with a bag of potato chips and a soda over the weekend and just scrolled through this to confirm that there are no educational records here. Yeshiva University is not kosher. They pay their attorneys to bear false witness. This is not a religious school. They pretend to be a religious school, but in fact, they are a criminal entity. They are nothing but a bunch of hoodlums. Okay, there are no educational records here. Let's go on to the next document. Okay, this is 9 pages. Scroll up to the beginning. You can see this is 9 pages. And let me increase the magnification a little bit. Again, this is happening in 2007. I was in 2006, this is happening in 2004 to 2007. In 2006, an Orthodox Jewish girl asked me if I would be a witness against the school. This is not an educational record. This is just a memorandum of law. And again, we're going to scroll through this. There are no educational records here. Nope, no educational records in these 9 pages. So, I sat down over the weekend with a bag of potato chips and a soda and just scrolled through all the documents to confirm, and law enforcement is doing this with me, and I'm posting this on the internet. I will be presenting this to pre-med groups worldwide. Yeshiva University does recruit students worldwide, and this is life-saving information for every pre-med. Yeshiva University is not kosher. There's no educational records here. Let's move on to the next document. Okay, these are 2 pages. This is a form. Oh, this is important here. One of the things that law enforcement asked me was, who are the judges? Name the judges who are upholding these fabricated, wholesale, made-up rulings that are being used to hurt you and to establish a very dangerous precedent that students, former students, cannot access and correct their records, because that is an extremely dangerous precedent. There are 2 pages here, right here. There are no educational records here, and those are the names of the judges, and we're going to get into more details. But right now, the purpose of this exercise is just to scroll through the documents and to confirm that when John Scarfone took the witness stand in 2010 in Manhattan Criminal Court and claimed, okay, this is 2 pages here again, there are no educational records here, this is just a form, and claimed that we produced her records, she has them, she has no legitimate purpose in continuing to contact the school, that John Scarfone lied. The school lied. There are no educational records here. Here's the next document. Okay, this is 8 pages, and it looks like it's an index right here. So let's go to the top. Okay. Okay, this is not an educational record. And if you'd like a copy of the criminal trial transcript so you can confirm this for yourself, please feel free to email me at crookeddoctors@yahoo.com. If you happen to be in New York and you want to go down to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, you can go to 500 Pearl Street, go to the 3rd floor, use my name, Lydia Radin, right here, R-A-D-I-N. Let me increase that for you. It's Lydia Radin, R-A-D-I-N. I'm the plaintiff, and R-A-D-I-N, and the docket number is right here, and you can confirm for yourself. This is the docket number 07-1359, and remember, my attorneys, law enforcement, this has been scanned, so it's on hard copies. I'm putting it up on the internet so it can be downloaded worldwide. There are no, in these 8 pages, there are no educational records here. Okay, this is just, looks like an indexed. Right, this is just an index. That's all this is. And here we go. These are not, this is just a docket index, and there are no educational records here. So Yeshiva University can, will, and did, in my case, lie in court to illegally convict, illegally incarcerate me, an innocent person. That's not kosher, Rabbi Lamb. This is not a religious school. This is a criminal entity. And of all the criminals, and there are a number of criminal schemes that I discovered, including federal student loan fraud. Not only did this university lie to steal money in a federal student loan program, they lied to steal a state TAP grant, they lied to steal a federal Pell Grant, and an Orthodox Jewish man named Mike Tyberg called me. We went down to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. They refused to help us. They helped the school steal money from us. No educational records. Here we go. Okay, so this is 6 pages. Right up here you can see 6 pages. And again, these are not educational records. This is Judge Patterson here, right here. Robert P. Patterson Jr. was the law enforcement knows who Judge Patterson is. And again, this is not an educational record. This is just the opinion and order of a judge. He did more than just legislate from the bench. This is his opinion and order. He did more than just, these judges did more than just refuse to uphold the law and wholesale repeal laws that protect students. They wholesale fabricated, they made up rulings. They just made stuff up. And what was interesting to me as we scroll through this, I'm going to provide a little commentary. I asked the 2 Orthodox Jewish students who called me and asked me for help. Oh yes, I'm such an anti-Semite that I actually helped Orthodox Jewish students who were victimized by Yeshiva University. There's no educational records here. John Scarfone lied. I asked, here we'll go to the next one. Okay, this is 8 pages, and again, this just looks like an index. So let's just get a close-up of that. Okay, so this is not an educational record here. No educational records here. There are no educational records here. Okay. Yep, oh, we'll go through all this. Eric Pennington, Lisa George, something to say about them. Dan Rizal is a liar. He's with the law firm Sive, Paget, and Rizal. He's paid to lie. He's a dishonest attorney. And this looks like it's just a docket index. Again, it's not an educational record. No educational records here. So let's scroll through these 8 pages. So I asked the Orthodox Jewish students who called me and asked me for help. Again, we're just scrolling through page 4 of 8 pages. This is a copy of the Notice of Appeal and the District Court docket sheet. There are no educational records here. So I asked the Orthodox Jewish students who called me and asked me for help, why didn't you go to the rabbi courts? Because it's becoming abundantly obvious that the courts that we're going to, these civilian courts, are notoriously corrupt. Why don't you go to the rabbi courts? And they said, Lydia, you pay the rabbis and they just make stuff up. So you can see the psychopathology of the white Orthodox Jewish male. They just make stuff up. This is a copy of the receipt. And again, the courts are just a means of raising revenue. This is the $455 that I paid. No educational records here. It's just milker for the money, milker for the money, milker for the money. Here's another. Okay, this is 2 pages. This is not an educational record. Now, we're going to go through, I'm going to go through some more evidence that shows that John Scarfone lied. He changed his story through time when he was confronted with the truth. I was telling the truth, and the school was lying. And there's no educational records there. And oh, look, this is Dan Rizal filling out his court appearance form. So this is not an educational record. But you know something, if you are moved out there in the viewing audience and you'd like to do something, here's what you do have in front of you. You have information for Dan Rizal's fax number, and you have Dan Rizal's email address. And you could email Dan Rizal at Dan Rizal, that's Dan, D-R-I-E-S-E-L, Dan Rizal at SPR, that's Sive, Paget, and Rizal Law.com. You could email him and you could tell him it is unconscionable. He is engaged in crimes. You don't support this. You could carbon copy me at CrookedDoctors@yahoo.com. So if you'd like to, you can do it anonymously. You can even set up an anonymous email address, and you can communicate with Dan Rizal and tell him that lawyers who are being paid to list, no educational records here. And here is, once again, this is not an educational record. There are no educational records here. Okay, this is 1 page of me filling out a form. And that is not an educational record. And here we go. Oh, now this is very significant. Now this is Dan Rizal filling out a notice of appearance. And what it says here, this is being filed in 2007, and it looks like Dan Rizal requested oral argument. Oral argument is desired. Party requests 5 minutes. Now this is really interesting because as far as I know, there was no oral argument. So if Dan Rizal is asking for oral argument and he's being granted oral argument, this is Dan Rizal. Oh look, you have his phone number. I want to know how come I didn't know about it. I want to know if there was an oral argument. I mean, how many games did these people play? As far as, whoops. Here we go. Nope, we did that one already. This is the one we're working on. This is Dan Rizal asking for oral argument. Here we go. Oh, and look, out there in the viewing audience, you have Dan Rizal's phone number. Dan Rizal's phone number at the law firm of Sive, Paget, and Rizal is 212-421-2150. That's 212-421-2150. Please call Dan Rizal and tell him that lying to destroy the life of an innocent person is not something, is unconscionable, and you don't support that. And carbon copy me at CrookedDoctors@yahoo.com. But what disturbs me about looking at this document is that right here it looks like Dan Rizal is requesting oral argument, and as far as I know, there was no oral argument. And if Dan Rizal got oral argument and I wasn't there, I want to know about it. So that'll be a question I would like to ask. So far there's no we're going through this systematically, and I gave this to my attorney and this is a single page here. Okay, this is not an educational record, it's just an acknowledgement letter. There's no educational records here. Here we go. This is, it looks like this is a notice of appearance. This is not an educational record. This is a notice of appearance where the attorney just comes down and gives his contact information. And it looks like Dan Rizal asked for oral argument. Oral argument is desired. Party requests 5 minutes. And as far as I knew, there was no oral argument. If there was, and I didn't get notice of it, this is this is Dan Rizal's phone number, 212-421-2150. If you out in there in the viewing audience are a person of good conscience and you're appalled by what's going on here, you can call Dan Rizal and say, that's disgusting that you would lie. And, you know, Dan Rizal needs to hear that, especially from his peers, because I will be emailing all the defense attorneys in the nation and internationally, because Yeshiva University recruits internationally. Again, there's no educational records here. This is not an educational record. So once again, when John Scarfone took the witness stand, this is just a form. This is not an educational record. So I've got law enforcement that has copies of these CDs, and this is one page, not an educational record. Here we go. Oh, again, this is one page. This is not an educational record. So when I scroll through this, there are law enforcement agencies out there that have copies of these CDs, and they're scrolling through it too, and they're confirming that, yep, John Scarfone committed perjury. Okay, this is 15 pages, and it looks like this is not an educational record, because this is a memorandum of law, and it's 15 pages, so we're going to just scroll through it. Again, this is not an educational record. Not an educational record. So when the purpose of this exercise is to scroll through all these documents and confirm that when John Scarfone testified on the witness stand in Manhattan Criminal Court in 2010, claiming that the school produced my records. He lied. I have never received my complete, unedited records, my educational records, my financial records, my medical records, all of which have been falsified by Yeshiva University and its dishonest attorneys. And the brains behind the operation is Martin Bachstein. He's a lawyer who lied. He made up lie after lie after lie, and I've been asked to pick out the most obvious lies and show them, and so I am. So here we go. John Scarfone says, we produced in federal court during her litigation, page 198 of my criminal trial transcript, and in fact, they did not. And these are all the documents that we're scrolling through to confirm that John Scarfone is a liar, and Yeshiva University is not kosher. And here's the last page that we're going to do, and this is, oh good, this is 61 pages. Again, this is not an educational record. This is me, and I'm writing to the court, and I'm writing regarding the Yeshiva victims fraud, but again, this is not an educational record. So I'm just going to scroll through these last pages, and you can see there are no education. This is a timeline of the Yeshiva victims fraud when I resigned from the Yeshiva victims group, and we'll get into all those details in later videos, but for now, the purpose of this exercise is just to scroll through all these documents and confirm that Yeshiva University is not kosher. They paid John Scarfone, Associate General Counsel, to go into court, Manhattan Criminal Court in 2010, and lie about me. And these are all, these are all the people who know about the Yeshiva victims fraud. Yep, they're not going to be happy campers, but that is not my problem. Okay, these are all the people who know about the Yeshiva victims fraud. And we're going to get into those details in other videos. But right now, the purpose of this exercise is just to scroll through all these documents to confirm that my educational records were never provided. These are just a pack of liars. And this is life-saving information for every pre-med. Is this a place you want to go to school? And if there were any people of good conscience at Yeshiva University, they would be raising their voices in protest. And if there are any people who give money to the school, they should stop donating money, because your money goes to pay lawyers who lie and destroy the lives of innocent people. I'm one of those people. So is Heidi Weissman. So is Diane Persky. Diane Persky sued Yeshiva University successfully in 1999 for religious discrimination. As a conservative Jewish woman, she was told she wasn't Orthodox enough for this Orthodox Jewish school that claimed that they were non-denominational. They're not. They're just a pack of liars. So here we go. We're just scrolling through, where are we? Page 16 of 61 pages. So we should be done pretty, shortly. Oh, look, these are all the emails that was sent. Emails can be traced through their IP addresses. Marlene Abramova thinks that when you delete an email, it just goes away. No, it doesn't. It's on your hard drive and it can be traced. So these are the exhibits, and this is all, oh, by the way, these exhibits, these were all provided to Detective Lee over at Queens. Detective Lee is a police officer. In 2006, Marlene Abramova pressed false criminal charges against me. These are all, this is Edward Radofsky. He's writing cease and desist letters. Please stop using Miss Radin's materials. And these exhibits are were all provided to Detective Lee at Forest Hills, Queens, Marlene Abramova had gone down, goaded by her family and friends. These are dishonest Russian Jews. That's not anti-Semitic, that's the truth. Marlene Abramova, who behaves like a child, went down to the Forest Hills police station, pressed false criminal charges against me. These are the details of the Yeshiva victims fraud, which I'll get into. Marlene Abramova plagiarized from me. She lost her case. And then in retaliation, because this Russian Jewish community has a revenge culture, went down to Detective Lee and pressed false criminal charges against me. Detective Lee has all these exhibits, and he cleared me. And I asked him then in 2006, going into 2007, please get me protective orders against these people. They know what they're doing. And I want orders of protection, and I want to press criminal charges. Making false police reports is a crime. And had Detective Lee done that in 2006 and 2007, Marlene Abramova and her dishonest community and her dishonest mother and her mother's dishonest psychiatrist would not have lied about me even more after 2006, 2007. Ultimately, they used their connections in the Russian Jewish, Bukharian Jewish community to cause a physical assault on me that left me with serious bodily injury, almost left me paralyzed, almost left me dead. Oh yeah, I'm going to be going through all the details of the Yeshiva victims fraud. And now their excuse is, oh, just because we said, oh, this is a photograph of Marlene Abramova, and we'll be looking at this in more depth and detail. Now the big lie that's being told is, oh, just because I said something and someone got beat up doesn't mean that I'm responsible. Yes, it does. That's Law School 101. You don't scream fire in a crowded theater when there is no fire, because in the stampede that you cause to the door, if someone is injured or murdered, you are directly responsible. So this is all the evidence that was turned over to Detective Lee, and Detective Lee could have and should have put a stop to the harm towards me. Filing a false police report is a crime. Marlene should have been held accountable, and I should have gotten protective orders. And had Detective Lee done that, it's his responsibility to know, oh, these are all the people who are involved in the Yeshiva victims fraud. These are all the people that were involved in this. We're going to go through all this in depth and detail. And had Detective Lee protected my life then, I would not have been left with serious bodily injury, almost murdered, almost left paralyzed. And I would have not been put through the farce of a criminal prosecution, because this is Marlene Abramova's act of revenge. So, there you go. There are no educational records here. So the purpose of this exercise, yep, this is the Yeshiva victims fraud. Those are the details of the Yeshiva victims fraud. It was Detective Lee's job to know when he's policing a neighborhood that the neighborhood that he's policing has a revenge mentality. These Russian Jews have a revenge mentality, and he should have protected me. He should have filed criminal complaints against Marlene for filing false police report, and I should have been given orders of protection. This is an email from her attorney. We'll get into the details of the Yeshiva victims fraud. Marlene Abramova lost her own case because she plagiarized from me. And, oh, this is an email from Nettie Meyerson, State Assemblywoman Nettie Meyerson, who asked that her name and photo be removed from the Yeshiva Victims website, and she carbon copied it to me. And we'll get into all that too. So the bottom line is there are no educational records here. So we've gone through this CD now, and we've scrolled through every single document we have scrolled through, and there are no educational records here. So I picked the most easy to understand example. There are no educational records in any of these documents. So when John Scarfone got up on the witness stand in Manhattan Criminal Court and swore that we produced in federal court, he lied. And we just went through an exercise that showed he lied. Now, in one last video, I have to go through this CD, and these are the documents from 2005. So we're going to go through one more CD. I'll probably, I don't know how I'm going to break this up, but it'll be 1 or 2 short videos. So here you go, Mr. H. The most easy to understand example that Yeshiva University lied.